Hi, I'm Bill Miller for Carlisle Productions. Behind me is our world-famous car corral. In our car corral is more than 1,500 spaces of collector cars for sale. Just about any make or model is here, but we really specialize in cars of the 50s. We call them the Turnpike Cruisers.
As a little kid, my parents had a restaurant drive-in, and the guys were pulling in the early 50s through about 56 cars. The 56 and 7s were new cars. What they had was fender skirts, mud flaps. You had to have 3 antennas or you weren't anything. If you had a raccoon tail, you were pretty hot. And the big thing was you had your package shelf full of knickknacks, doodads, and all the over the windshield. You had every comb you could possibly get, or anything that would stick up there, and you were really cool. Now, if you didn't have the little lights on your mud flaps, hey, you were nothing. You know, the wider the white wall, obviously you had money. That's how you gauged it. Just everything you could really add. And I remember a 56 Ford, which was 1 year old, and a 57 Ford that was brand new, run them off in front. They just tore out, and I was just so impressed. I was a little kid standing there. I just, oh gosh, I want one of those when I'm older. A lot of those people identifying with this was what mom and dad could afford. This was good. You felt comfortable. You know, this is it. They didn't really identify with foreign cars, or gas mileage wasn't an issue back then. It was luxury, bigness. V8 was king. You had to have a V8. My dad had a 60 Ford with a 6-cylinder, and I was just embarrassed to ride in it. You know, I remember saying, one came by exactly like ours, and I said, "Dad, which one would you rather have?" He said, "I'd rather have that one." I said, "Why?" He said, "What's a 8-cylinder?" I went, "Oh, okay." Yeah, V8, that was the thing. Yeah. If you didn't have a V8, you might as well hang it up. And the bigger the V8, the better off you were. You know, bigger is better. That was the thing back then. The cars got slowly bigger. They got bigger engines. It just built up to the early 70s, and then it all collapsed on us. I still really never find something that attracts me. I look at lots of new cars, I see them, I'm not attracted to them. I drive a van probably because it's big. I just don't find any new car I'm really interested in. I mean, they're really nice, they're really pretty, they just don't move me. I don't find the excitement.
You know, when you're sitting behind the wheel of one of these turnpike cruisers, the feeling really is quite exhilarating. You're king of the road. You've got all the style, you've got all the power, you've got all the comfort that you have in a new car. Plus, you're different. You're on display. You're a moving car show. Some of these cars can even seat 6 for dinner. Cars of the 50s probably were the best built cars in history. They used the heavy steel, they used the designers at I believe at a time where style was everything, engineering was everything. It came into its own in the 50s. The 50s cars are really popular, especially with people of my age, because these are the cars we grew up with. I feel that they are exceptionally designed. They're streetable, they're fun to drive, but they're also fun to collect, and they're beautiful. I guess you kind of feel like king of the road. You're behind the wheel of a 1959 Cadillac convertible, knowing you've got all the style, the grace, the ride, the power that they ever made in an automobile. You just feel like king of the road.
Today's cars are green, they're black, they're gray, they're whatever, but they don't have the pizzazz.
Simply, they got class. They look like they're something instead of cookie-cutter cars like they make nowadays. No two look alike, and they got pizzazz. You can tell them apart from a block apart. Nowadays, they give you half of a car with half of a motor, so naturally they can go around corners faster. That's about all I can see they got better in them. My wife has a new car, a Probe, and it feels like I'm in a buckboard when you go down the road, and that thing, over every bump, it's got no wheelbase, so every bump you ride over, the car feels like it's going to shake apart. Another thing is, if people, when they buy these cars, would go through and redo the front ends, put new control arm bushings, they're riding around on 35 and 40-year-old equipment under there, and then they wonder why a car might ride. If they'd ride just as good as new, which they rode fine new.
In a nutshell, Dean, the reason these cars are as exciting as they are is because as the baby boomers have grown up, they now have that extra money in their pocket where they can afford to go buy this car. And they're buying back part of their youth, and it's just exciting for them to drive those cars all over again.
What was it like in high school when these guys had these cars?
You know, that was the fun of high school. I graduated in the early 60s, and the 50s cars were very reasonable at that time. And you could buy these cars and hot rod them, street rod them, drive them fast. You know, the laws and everything weren't as stringent as they are today. So the drag racing on the streets and things were a lot of fun.
Was it just as fun back then driving as it is to be capturing them today?
Absolutely. There's the car shows today are the excitement that brings back that youth. You wander around the car shows, you see all the cars, you get that enthusiasm back again, and you just can't wait to get in that car and drive again.
Is there a sadness that era is gone?
I guess the sadness to me that the era of the 50s cars is gone is because we no longer have chrome, we no longer have white walls. Cars don't even come standard with white walls or even options today. You can't even buy white walls on a car today from many manufacturers.
we first started the car corral in 1974, it was quite tiny. It was a new concept. People were unaware what it really was. And what it really is getting cars in represented by their owners, and one-on-one, those people sell to the buyer. It's a concept quite different from the auction, where it's represented by an auctioneer. This has grown from, I can't remember how many cars, it might have been 150 cars in 1974 to over 1,600 cars today. We could easily put double that amount if we only had the room for all these cars. Not only is the car corral a buy and sell area, it's also an enormous show for cars of the 50s, all the way from the 50 Ford, 57 Chevrolet, 59 Cadillacs, the Plymouths, the Dodges, the Studebakers, the Customs, the street rods, anything you can think of, literally anything you can find from the Turnpike Cruiser age.
It reminds me of my younger days. It's my father was a Buick salesman for many years, and I was around Buicks, and they have a special place in my heart.
just unique in their own way, you know. The colors that they had then, the sounds they made, the custom looks you could create with them. There's just never be anything like the 50s cars again. Nothing cruises better than a big old Oldsmobile or Cadillac. That's the finest ride you can get. If you drove a little Volkswagen or Simca or something like that, it was just used as a toy.
cars of the 50s are so exciting. It's really because, Dean, that people of that age bracket now can buy back those cars.
That's it.
And that's why they're hot, because we're going to move into the 60s cars and the 70s cars and everything else. But that's why they're hot right now, because these people have gotten out of, gotten to the point where they can afford to buy their youth back, and that's why they're buying the 50s cars.
Well, they're big, heavy cars that kids or people my age, 40s, remember as kids and enjoy. People say that cars aren't what they used to be, and maybe it's a good thing. The new cars, the technology's there, the cars are much more advanced. These cars were about V8 engines, automatic transmissions, that sort of thing. A departure from what there was before.
style and the color, different designs. They were colorful. I mean, look at them. They're colorful, you know.